court is in session for the case before us, and we will have a seat. Thank you. Mr. Stater, could you shut the back door for us, please? We're going to hear the details today on the case. A case of negligence is before the court. Is the prosecution ready, or is the plaintiff's attorney ready?
Yes, Your Honor.
Are the defense attorneys ready?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. So you ready to do an opening statement?
Yes, Your Honor.
Present your opening statement.
May it please the court, Your Honor. Trust is something that we all hold in the highest regard. When one person places their trust in another, they bestow upon that individual a great and imperative honor. The reason the case before the court today is a case about honor, about the malicious fracture of trust. Can I start over again real quick?
Also,
I know it. I
want to make
down
a suggestion. Do you think maybe you should sit over there so that he's sort of facing the camera and his voice projects in that direction? Just so we can so
All right, we'll put the witnesses over here. We'll
No.
start it again,
Okay.
but from here on, we're not going to stop.
Yeah, no, okay.
Okay, go.
May it please the court, Your Honor. Trust is something we all hold in the highest esteem. When one person places their trust in another, they bestow upon that individual a great and imperative honor. The case before the court today, Your Honor, is a case about trust, about the malicious fracture of trust. I, along with my co-counsel, will be representing the victim of this broken trust, Ms. Sarah Perez. Due to the severity of her injuries, she cannot even be in court today to testify, and instead, her father brings forth this charge. Less than a year ago, Ms. Perez was a vibrant young woman with an extraordinary and promising future before her. The star of her prestigious lacrosse club, she excelled at the sport from an early age, and with the encouragement of her single parent, looks set to play Division I lacrosse in college. However, Your Honor, as a result of the negligence by both Coach Shannon Dempsey and the Springfield County Lacrosse League, Ms. Sarah Perez cannot live out that extraordinary future, and is instead confined to an excruciating one. Less than a year ago, Ms. Perez was playing in her state championship game with her Springfield County lacrosse club, the Hornets. In this game, she fell and hit her head. Such a seemingly simple injury held devastating consequences, as she was left debilitated due to an extension of a previous injury that she sustained while playing for the Hornets. An injury, Your Honor, that was reported to league officials and taken care of as both league protocol and common sense dictate, yet was directly resulted in the removal of Coach Shannon Dempsey. Had the league, as well as Coach Shannon Dempsey, taken the responsibilities entrusted in them by both Sarah and her father, Sarah could be playing college lacrosse right now. Your Honor, as a result of this event, the plaintiff brings forth the complaint of negligence against both Coach Shannon Dempsey and the Springfield County Lacrosse Club. Today, the plaintiff will show that a preponderance of the evidence proves this negligence, and 3 key testimonies will be key in providing that evidence. First, Sarah's father, Mr. Casey Perez, will take the stand. He will testify to Sarah's promising future and distinguished lacrosse record, as well as the professionalism and competence of Sarah's first coach, Coach Tobin O'Reilly. He will also share with the court the rage he felt when he learned that Sarah's injury was completely avoidable. Had the league and Coach Shannon Dempsey taken the responsibility entrusted in them and prevented their star player from becoming injured in such a manner. Next, Bobby Chadwick, a medical expert and the author of a widely read paper on the field on the subject of brain injuries and sport injuries, will take the stand. He will explain to the court that even one injury of this type poses a huge risk to a student athlete, and that after such an injury, that student should be barred from playing the sport competitively ever again. With the aid of his in-depth medical knowledge, he will show that the league should have known that head injuries were this severe, and that every day they allowed Ms. Perez to continue play, they were committing negligence. Finally, Coach Tobin O'Reilly will take the stand. Coach O'Reilly was Ms. Perez's first coach in the Springfield County Lacrosse Club, and he will testify to the lack of professionalism and due diligence exhibited by the league and both Coach Shannon Dempsey, as well as he will also discuss with the court his removal from the league due to him following protocol. Your Honor, with these testimonies, we will provide a clear and concise picture of the events that took place, and will show that Coach Dempsey and the Springfield County Lacrosse Club exhibited negligence that led directly to the injuries that Ms. Perez sustained. We will also show that the assumption of risk does not in fact apply to this case. At the end of this trial, my colleague Mr. Holland will stand before the court and review the facts as well as the law that applies to this case. At that time, we ask that you find the defendant liable for the charge of negligence. Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Field. Defense ready?
Yes, Your Honor.
Thank you, Mr. Lostock. If you don't mind, I'm going to stand up and turn off this light. I feel like I'm being questioned by the police. Proceed.
May it please the court. Your Honor, when accidents occur and innocent people become injured, we see people close to them look to blame. They look to blame someone or something. It doesn't matter to them. That thing or person is at fault. We're completely innocent in the matter. Because to them it's an outlet. It's an outlet for their pain. It's an outlet for their emotion. These people, they do this understandably enough, as they're the same as a wounded animal. A wounded animal attacks because it's confused, it's irate, it's irrational. These people, just as wounded animals, are irrational. Your Honor, this is a case about a wounded human being. A case about an emotionally torn person who is falsely blaming undeserving people. Today, I, along with my co-counsel, will be representing the defense, the Springfield County Lacrosse Club, and Coach Shannon Dempsey, the victims of this blame shifting. The incident which brings us all here today occurred on May 1st, 2014. Sarah, she was playing lacrosse when she abruptly fell. She fell hard. She fell fast onto her head, understandably sustaining a concussion. Hereupon, Sarah was left incapacitated, an injury which was reported to the league officials as is league protocol. An accident? Of course. An injury? Absolutely. A situation absent of blame? Of course, absolutely. Sarah, she was playing lacrosse, a sport that by nature is aggressive. It's fast and it's rough. She and Ms. Perez knew the raw nature of the sport. They knew that the sport is non-contact. By nature, it is aggressive. And in this crazy, lackluster world that we live in, accidents happen. At the end of the case, Mr. DeLeonardo, my fellow co-counsel member, will argue that these individuals assumed a risk, that risk being of injury. Your Honor, the plaintiff has the burden of proof in this case, and because of that burden, in order to collect damages, they must prove by preponderance of the evidence that the SCLC and Coach Dempsey were negligent. The defense and I, however, will show that there was a lack of negligence through testimonies of 3 individuals today. First, Jordan Reddick will take the stand. He will testify to the correct procedures were followed thoroughly by the SCLC and himself, by the South Carolina Lacrosse Club. He will prove that the league is about fostering girls' lacrosse skills in a safe yet competitive environment. Next, Coach Chris Durant, a longtime coach at a multiple collegiate level sports positions, will take the stand. Giving his testimony to what was involved with the dealings of Sarah Perez's concussion. He will also provide insight to the assumption of risk, how the assumption of risk lies on Casey and Sarah Perez. Finally, Coach Shannon Dempsey, a longtime athlete and current coach of the Hornets, will take the stand. He will testify about Sarah's second incident, how Sarah's second incident occurred, showing that he and the SCLC took all reasonable steps to ensure the safety of Ms. Perez. At the end of the trial, my fellow council member will stand before the court and review the facts brought up today, as well as details of the case showing how Casey and Sarah assumed a risk of injury, and absolving the defendants from claims of negligence. We request that you find the defendants, the Springfield County Lacrosse Club, and Coach Shannon Dempsey not guilty of all charges. Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank
Did I
you.
say South Carolina?
Yeah, it's pretty
Okay.
much down.
Next, is the plaintiff ready to proceed?
Yes, Your Honor. The plaintiff would like to call to the stand Mr. Casey Perez.
You can use this as a stand, sir. Well, actually, might be better if you do this out here. You made this your stand.
Should we check to see if you...
Thank you. You swear to tell the truth?
Yes,
Good.
Could you please state your name for the court?
my name is Casey Perez.
And what is your relation to Ms. Sarah Perez?
I'm Sarah's father, her only parent after the unexpected death of her mother.
What is your current occupation, Mr. Perez?
I currently work as a nurse in the Springfield County Hospital as a nurse in the traumatic head injury room.
What are your roles as a nurse in the Springfield County Neurology Clinic?
I do not diagnose patients, I simply do simple nurse duties.
Thank you. Now, when did your daughter Sarah first begin to play the sport of lacrosse?
She began to play at around age 8, I would say, and she really showed a lot of promise when she started.
How did you foster this promise, Mr. Perez?
I enrolled her in many different competitive lacrosse leagues that I thought could bring the best out of her.
Why did you choose to enroll Sarah in the Hornets lacrosse, or the Springfield County Lacrosse Club, specifically with the Hornets?
I knew the Hornets had a very statewide reputation of being a very competitive lacrosse team, and so I knew that Sarah belonged there.
Who was the coach of the Hornets at the time that Sarah began playing with them?
It was Coach Tobin Riley.
What, if any, interactions did you have with Coach Tobin Riley, Mr. Perez?
I wanted to make sure Riley could bring the best out of Sarah, so I personally talked with him, and after that talk, I knew he could do it.
What made you so sure of those things?
Simply his background and his experience, I knew that he was the right choice.
What, if anything, made you so sure that he was a responsible coach as well?
One time, Sarah, twisted her ankle in a game, and O'Reilly took her out, and even though she wanted to go back in, he was concerned for her and didn't let her go right back in.
Thank you. What happened the following season, Mr. Perez?
The following season, Sarah started to do really well. I believe she was definitely the star player of her team.
What, if any, injuries occurred that season?
One time, that's when the first injury occurred, when she fell or she was running down the field, and this big girl from the other team collided into her. And they both hit the ground and seemed to hit their heads. And so, yeah.
What happened after that, Mr. Perez?
After that, O'Reilly suggested that we call an ambulance, but I simply took her down to the emergency room where I worked right away.
And what was the result of this emergency room visit?
Well, they saw me right away as a favor to me, and they said that Sarah had a mild concussion.
Your Honor, at this time, may I request that the plaintiff move around the court freely?
Sure. Plaintiff's attorney?
All the attorneys, yes.
Oh, yes, all the attorneys.
Do you recognize this document?
Objection, Your Honor.
My apologies.
Here you go.
You withdraw the objection?
Yes, Your Honor.
Do you recognize this document, Mr. Perez? And you affirm that that is your signature there as well?
It is.
At this time, Your Honor, I would like to have the following exhibit marked as marked for identification purposes as Plaintiff Exhibit 1.
Okay. So, Mark?
Thank you, Your Honor. Do you mind holding on to this?
Yes.
What did this discharge slip instruct you as the legal guardian of Sarah to do?
It instructed me about 2 weeks before letting her return to play.
I'm sorry, could you rephrase that answer for the court?
It instructed me to wait 2 weeks before letting Sarah return to play.
Thank you. And what, if any, symptoms did Sarah display in those 2 weeks?
Nothing. She seemed perfectly fine.
When did Sarah return to lacrosse?
I did not let her return to play until 4 weeks after.
Thank you. At this time, Your Honor, I would like to have this moved into evidence.
Okay, so moved. If anyone needs this is defense exhibit A, emergency room
Plaintiff.
pardon me. Plaintiff exhibit A, emergency room discharge.
When did you give Coach O'Reilly the discharge slip?
The day that Sarah returned to play, she told me that O'Reilly needed the slip immediately, so I gave it to her.
After returning to lacrosse and practicing in a regular schedule, how was Sarah's health?
She seemed pretty fine.
What, if any, inquiries did Coach Dempsey make of Sarah's medical record after becoming the head coach that summer?
He did not ask anything about Sarah's health.
When did you become aware of Sarah's headaches?
That was the day of her annual checkup. The physician, she told the physician, or the pediatrician, that she was having these headaches.
What was the diagnosis of these headaches?
She said that they were, on and off and mild.
Or, I'm sorry, maybe rephrase the question. What was the pediatrician's diagnosis of these headaches?
She said that Sarah did not need to be benched from playing unless needed.
Thank you. And what did Sarah herself have to say about these headaches?
She said they were only a little bit, and she doesn't remember when she started having these.
What, if any, symptoms did Sarah continue to show the following weeks?
I noticed that she was doing not so well in some of her classes, but I assumed because they were hard classes like trigonometry, organic chemistry, I assumed that was the reason she wasn't doing so well.
When did Sarah receive her final injury?
That would be the championship game in 2015.
Could you please elaborate more onto this injury?
Sarah was running down the field, and in the final moments of the game, and she just fell down, and she wasn't responding.
What, if anything, did you learn about Sarah's head injury?
That's when I learned that concussions were cumulative, and that the more concussions one's received, the more severe each one is.
As Sarah's legal guardian, what, if any, changes would you have made to Sarah's lacrosse career if you had known this?
Of course, if I knew, I would not have let Sarah play.
Thank you. No further questions, Your Honor.
Thank you, Mr. Field. Any cross-examination for this witness? You cross yourself. Okay, well, we're gonna leave the cross-examination out then. One of the things that I noted, and I'm saying this for the tape, is that there are a couple of places there that some of it might be objectionable. You might want to think about the objections. For example, when they're asking, for hearsay more than anything else. On cross, I think that you start to ask this person, the father, about their career as a nurse, okay, and bring that in. But thank you. You may stand down. Nice job, by the way. Any further witnesses
Any further witnesses?
for the plaintiff?
Yes, Your Honor.
Yes.
The plaintiff would like to call Dr. Bobby Chadwick to stand.
Dr. Chadwick? You swear to tell the truth?
Yes.
I'm happy.
What do you do, Dr. Chadwick?
I am a professor at Springfield County Community College.
And how old are you?
I'm 61 years old.
Your Honor, at this time, I would like to attempt to qualify the witness as an expert in the field of sports injury and kinesiology.
Okay, you may proceed.
Dr. Chadwick, what experience do you have in the field of sports injury and or kinesiology?
Well, in 1990, I received a PhD from Harvard in sports injury and kinesiology. And then up until 2006, I was the associate director at the Penn State University Center for the Study and Prevention of Sports Injury. I also taught several classes, undergraduate and graduate, about the study and prevention of sports injury at Penn State.
And what, if any, accomplishments other than that do you have in the field?
I have published a paper in the University of Guadalajara Medical Journal. It was called One and Done, and it was about my analysis and years of study of sports injury specifically.
And Could you inform the court on where this paper is available?
This paper is available online and at most medical libraries in the United States.
Your Honor, at this time I would like to offer the witness as an expert in the field of sports injury and kinesiology.
Before I do, are there any voir dire questions that the defense would like to ask?
Yes, Your Honor.
Proceed.
Hello.
Hello.
You don't have a degree in neurology, correct?
No, I do not.
And you do not have a medical degree at all, correct?
No, as I said, I have a PhD.
You do have a degree though, correct?
Yes, I have a PhD from Harvard.
What is that degree?
A PhD from Harvard in kinesiology and sports injury.
Do you teach kinesiology or sports injury courses at community college that you work at?
No, I teach a different course.
What do you teach?
I teach psychology.
Okay. Several studies disagree with your opinions, correct?
Objection, Your Honor. Argumentative.
I'm gonna let that be asked. Go ahead, I'd like to hear the answer to that.
Yes, I respectfully disagree with him.
You don't currently belong to any professional associations in your work, correct?
No, I don't feel it's necessary.
You don't belong to the Association of Neurological Studies, correct?
No, as I said, I don't feel it's necessary.
Or you don't belong to the Board of Head Injury Studies, correct?
No, again.
That's it. Thank you. Thank
Do
you,
you,
Your Honor.
do you have an objection to this witness as an expert?
Yes, Your Honor.
Make an argument.
I'd like to argue that he is not properly qualified, though he's not even qualified enough to teach kinesiology or sports injury courses at the community college that he works at.
Counter argument?
Your Honor, he has received a degree from a reputable school.
I'm going to take the Harvard degree, and in this case, I'm going to make him an expert in sports medicine and kinesiology. Thank you, gentlemen.
Dr. Chadwick, how were you brought onto this case?
I was contacted by the Perez family lawyers.
And what steps, if any, did you take to prepare for this case?
I reviewed all the evidence found in discovery, and I went over all the affidavits and the notes regarding the case.
And have you developed an opinion on the action or actions the coaches should have taken the date that Sarah Perez sustained her injury?
Yes, I have.
And could you inform the court on that opinion?
My opinion is that upon knowing of the prior injury that Sarah Perez had suffered, the SCLC should have never allowed her to play.
And how did you come to that conclusion?
I based it on my study of the evidence, their documents, and my years of expertise in the field.
No further questions, Your Honor.
Thank you. You may stand down. I'm sorry, cross-examination, I apologize.
Yes, Your Honor. You published a paper, correct?
Yes, that's correct.
And this paper is titled "One and Done: All Head Injuries Require Attention." That's correct.
Also correct.
And where was this? This paper was published in the United States, correct?
It was published in the University of Guadalajara's Medical Journal and is available in the United States.
Your Honor, please direct the witness.
What would you like me to direct?
I asked him if it was published in the United States, and he didn't give a yes or no.
What was it published in the United States?
It was published in Mexico.
Okay. Then I would ask that you answer counsel's questions, be as concise as you can.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
And in this paper, you give your opinions that after an injury in youth sports, that person is no longer able to play youth sports. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct.
So if I were to play ping pong and sustain a bump on the head, I would no longer be able to play ping pong. Is that correct?
Obviously, I used hyperbole, but if he had sustained a concussion while playing ping pong, then yes, I would say that the risks, especially dealing with young athletes and their developing brains, the risks are simply too high.
So, if I were to be hit with a ping pong ball on the head, a ping pong ball, I would no longer allow to play another game of ping pong ball.
If you suffered a concussion from that, yes.
if I suffer a concussion from that? Is that you just
Yes, if you suffer a head injury.
head injury? See, there is no such thing as a head injury, though, right?
Objection, Your Honor. Argumentative.
I'm gonna sustain that.
Okay. Thank you, Your Honor.
Stanley.
No further questions, Your Honor.
Yeah, it's like this seat.
You may stand down now.
Wait, is there any redirect?
Oh, any redirect?
Yes, Your Honor.
Oh, sorry. Trying to get rid of this witness.
Dr. Chadwick, how many years of experience do you have in the field that you were qualified in?
Well, I received my PhD from Harvard in 1990.
Objection, Your Honor. Relevancy to
Well, I'm not sure that's the right objection.
Yeah, it would be
I think
very
it's act
qualified.
and answer.
asked and answer. Sorry about that.
Oh, which one is it?
I will
It's the second
sustain,
one.
I will
It's the one that
sustain ask and
applies.
answer.
Okay.
No
You
further
have no
questions.
question?
No further questions.
No further question.
Now you may stand down.
Supervision, not my first.
Okay, third witness,
I guess, Your Honor, the plaintiff would like to call Mr. Tobin O'Reilly to the stand.
Mr. O'Reilly. Do you swear to tell the truth?
Depending on what they ask.
Okay, that makes sense.
Mr. O'Reilly, could you please state your age for the court?
Yes, I am 34 years old.
And, Mr. O'Reilly, when and where were you first appointed to a coaching position?
Yes, I was appointed to Springfield County High School in 2007 as a soccer coach.
What, if any, requirements did the school have in place that you had to fulfill before becoming a coach?
I was required to receive a student soccer coaching certificate from the American Association of High School Sports.
And what did this involve?
Taking several classes and passing a test.
When were you hired for the Springfield County Lacrosse Club?
Jordan Reddick approached me in 2011 to coach lacrosse.
What, if any, experience or classes did you take relating to lacrosse before being offered this position?
I'd only coached lacrosse for 1 year, and even then my team had to teach me how it worked.
In what way did you make your lack of formal training known to Mr. Reddick before he hired you?
I told him the truth. I'd only been doing it for 1 year.
With full knowledge of your lack of expertise in this sport, what, if any, requirements did the SCLC have in place before you were allowed to start coaching?
There were no requirements.
What, if anything, did the SCLC provide with you regarding rules and regulations pertaining to lacrosse safety?
Just a short manual, mostly, mostly, I'm trying to find the word that, mostly pertaining to paperwork and policy.
As a coach for the SCLC, what role did you play in the information process?
I was to receive paperwork from the parents and then send them off to SCLC. It was not my responsibility to look over the paperwork at all.
Now moving ahead, what happened during the 2013 championship game?
Yes, in the 2013 game, my player, Sarah Perez, suffered an injury because of a collision with another player.
After seeing this happen, how did you respond to the situation?
I used my past experiences in coaching and injury prevention and did the best I could. I took her off the field, I called an ambulance, I told her mom to take her to the hospital, and I waited for her to come back.
When did Sarah Perez return to practice?
3 weeks after.
And what actions did you take when she returned?
I received the slip from her doctor and allowed her to play again. I also mailed this slip as per SCLC policy to the SCLC headquarters and Jordan Reddick.
When sending this letter, what, if any, precautions did you take?
Because I knew this was of utmost importance, I did everything I could to make sure the letter would go to the right address. So I called SCLC to make sure I was sending it to the right address. Then I put a forever stamp on the letter so that the postal office would make sure that it got there as fast and as safely as possible.
After this, when did you next have contact with Mr. Jordan Reddick?
A few days later.
Could you briefly explain for the court what transpired?
Yes, Jordan Reddick approached me during the middle of my coaching and said that my.
Objection, Your Honor. Hearsay.
I'm gonna allow it, but I'm gonna ask you to tread carefully because we're on the cusp of hearsay. But I'm gonna hear his response and then make a decision. If you feel that, it continues, bring it up.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you.
Would you like me to restate the question? Or?
Yes, please.
All right. Could you briefly explain for the court what transpired between you and Mr. Reddick?
Yes. Jordan Reddick approached me in the middle of my practice and said that my coaching skills were no longer required. I had asked him why, and he said it was because I had lost the championship game. I explained to him that it was because our best player, Sarah Perez, had to be taken out. He then responded by saying, "What, you lost the game and took her out, what, for a bump on the head?" He then said, asked me that I should leave.
And I'm gonna overrule the objection based on that because he was there to hear all of this, so I'm gonna overrule your objection.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you. No further questions at this time, Your Honor.
Okay. Cross-examination? Excuse me, sir.
Yes, Your Honor.
If that is up.
Everyone, getting ready.
Your coaching experience is mostly from soccer, correct?
Yes.
And while you were coaching at Springfield High School, one of your players suffered a broken leg, is that correct?
Yes.
And this broken leg was suffered from a fall, correct?
If I remember correctly, yes, it was.
And was this fall directly related to any action or lack thereof on your part as a coach?
No, it wasn't.
So you would agree that, was there any reasonable action you could have taken to prevent that fall at the time at Springfield High School?
That specific fall, that specific injury? No, I could not.
And when it comes to Sarah's injury in the 2013 game, was there anything you could have done to prevent that injury? Anything reasonable?
And we're talking about the 2013.
The 2013, her first injury, yes.
I could not take any reasonable action to prevent that specific injury because it is a sport and collisions do happen.
And so you would agree that as a coach, you are not entirely responsible for the unforeseeable injuries that your players may suffer?
If they're unforeseeable.
And you agree that a fall, as it was at Springfield High School, is unforeseeable, correct?
A fall that like a Springfield.
Such as the girl who broke her leg while you were coaching at Springfield High School.
If we're talking about her, no, that was not. Her injury was not preventable.
And you left the SCLC, correct? You were not fired,
I was asked to leave by Jordan Reddick
but you left of your own free will. Is that correct?
because he asked.
And when you were hired by the SCLC, you said you received a manual. Is that correct?
Yes.
And did you read this manual thoroughly?
Yes, I read it.
Did you read it thoroughly?
What's your definition of thoroughly?
You would agree that in your statement you stated that you merely skimmed the manual. Is that correct?
Yes, I did. When I first got it, I skimmed through it.
And nowhere in your testimony do you state that you ever read the manual again. Is that correct?
That is correct, but I did.
But it is not stated in your testimony.
Doesn't mean it's not true.
And now, going back to Sarah's 2013 injury, when she suffered the injury, you did everything reasonable, correct? You called the ambulance, you immediately rushed to her aid, and you did everything that you thought was reasonable, correct?
Yes.
And so you would agree that you were prepared to deal with that injury, correct?
With that specific injury?
Yeah. You felt prepared, despite. Yes, you felt prepared, correct?
Yes, I felt that I did everything that I could to make sure that she came out of it as healthy as possible.
So you would say that you would agree that even despite the SCLC having knowledge of your lack of experience with lacrosse, you were still reasonably capable of taking care of your players, correct?
Could you repeat the question?
keeping in mind that the SCLC hired you with knowledge of your lack of lacrosse experience, you were still experienced and prepared to take care of your players, correct?
Well, yes, but I didn't use my past experiences as a lacrosse coach to do that. I used my past experiences in coaching in general and health, injury prevention.
No further questions, Your Honor.
Thank you, sir. Any recall? Or recall?
Yes, Your Honor. Mr. O'Reilly, when skimming through the manual, what if any information did you see regarding head injuries?
None. All I found was policy and paperwork.
And what, if anything, do you think about Sarah Perez's second injury and any ways it could have been prevented leading up to that?
Well, all of the falls in sports in themselves are somewhat unpreventable.
Objection, Your Honor. The witness was not present at the time of Sarah's second injury, and therefore he lacks the grounds to speak on what could have been done to prevent it.
And he's not an expert, so I'm going to sustain that objection.
Thank you, Your Honor.
No further questions, Your Honor.
Thank you, sir.
If I may recross,
Certainly.
let it be known that I'm showing the opposing counsel a copy of Mr. O'Reilly's affidavit.
Yeah.
Permission to approach the
You
witness.
may.
This is your affidavit, correct? Oh my God.
Well, I mean, I didn't write these pieces, these on it, I guess.
And this is your signature at the end. Is that correct?
Yes.
And if you could read along as I read aloud point 18, you stated that while reading the SCLC manual, quote, I do recall seeing procedures for reporting injuries and forms that parents had to complete before each season, correct?
Yes, I did. Yes, but none of those
No
procedures.
further questions, Your Honor.
Thank you. You may stand down, sir.
I was counting you, and that was good.
Does the plaintiff have any other witnesses they'd like to bring?
At this time, Your Honor, the plaintiff rests.
Okay. Defense ready to put on its case?
The defense calls Jordan Reddick to the stand.
Oh.
Mr. Reddick. God help us. Oh, no, this is. You swear to tell the truth,
I do.
as well as you dress? I'm not sure about the reason. Go ahead.
Please say your name and occupation for the court, please.
My name is Jordan Reddick, and I am a computer software engineer.
Now, could you also tell us a little bit about the Springfield County Lacrosse Club?
Yes, I helped to found the Springfield County Lacrosse Club because I felt that most of the local high schools didn't offer a sufficient girls lacrosse program.
And how much do you get paid being the president of the SCLC?
I received a $10,000 stipend a year for travel fees, things like that.
And now, could you tell us a little bit of the time Coach O'Reilly spent coaching the Hornets?
I had hired Coach O'Reilly, and I had expected high hopes of him.
And what, if anything, happened during that time?
I found out that Coach O'Reilly had not properly filed an injury report, and I promptly fired him.
When did you receive this injury report?
I received the report 2 weeks after the injury had taken place.
And what, if any, actions did you take upon learning this?
I fired Jordan.
And what are the SCLC's protocols for reporting injuries?
We require medical documentation in order to return to the field after an injury.
And how did you follow all of the procedures in this matter?
I followed the procedures as well as I could. However, I was unable to completely because Mr. O'Reilly had not turned in the injury report to me in an even timely manner.
No further questions, Your Honor.
Thank you, sir. Ross?
Yes, Your Honor. You are the sole founder and the sole person who runs the Springfield County Lacrosse Club, is that correct?
That is correct.
And you believe that the Springfield County Lacrosse Club is primarily concerned with winning, correct?
While winning is a major factor, we are also concerned with the safety of our girls.
You say that you're concerned with the safety of your girls. You yourself have no medical training, is that correct?
That is correct.
A matter of fact, in the few classes that you have covered regarding medical issues with cross girls, none of those classes covered brain injuries, is that correct?
That's correct.
So you are inexperienced with all injuries regarding the head, correct?
I do not treat the injuries. I simply make sure that the girls receive proper treatment before they can return to the field via the paperwork they file.
And this paperwork, your league protocol dictates that all injury reports of your athletes must be filed by mail, correct?
That is correct.
And Tobin O'Reilly filed his report by mail, correct?
That is correct.
And you work your main job is as a computer technician, and the league is a side job, is that correct?
While the league is a side job, I do take it very seriously, and I'm very passionate about it, as I did found it.
And you are the sole person responsible for the league's mail, correct?
I do go through the mail, yes.
So there is a chance that in working two jobs and being the only person responsible for the entire league's mail, that mail can get lost, misplaced, or just forgotten, correct?
This is a probability, yes.
No further questions.
Any redirect?
Yes. Mr. Reddy, do you have anyone else around that possibly helps with the mail?
Yes, I do. The SCLC employs secretaries.
No further questions, Your Honor.
Recross?
Yes, Your Honor, but before conducting my recross, may I have a moment of the court's indulgence?
Sure.
That's you.
Thank you.
You recognize this document, correct?
Yes, I do.
And you affirm that that is your signature, correct?
That is my signature.
And on point 7, or excuse me, in point 1, line 3, it says there are secretaries who take care of the league's bookkeeping and phone/email system, correct?
That is correct.
No further questions, Your Honor. I have a question, just real quick. Does qualifying a document count as a cross-examination or like a recross
Yes.
question? Okay.
It could, but I didn't see your point in that, but
I-
we'll talk about that later. We'll talk about it.
Okay.
Okay, you may stand down, sir. Thank you. Any further witnesses?
Yes, Your Honor. The defense calls Chris Durant to stand.
Chris Durant? Care to tell the truth?
I do.
You look like a truthful guy. Have a seat. You may proceed.
Hello. Would you please state your name and occupation for the court?
My name is Chris Durant, and I am a coach.
Your Honor, at this time, I would like to attempt to qualify Coach Chris Durant as an expert in amateur coaching and injuries in youth sports.
Objection, Your Honor.
Before you state your objection, coaching, amateur coaching in youth sports, exactly what is that as a category?
Amateur coaching, well, there are two separate categories. One, amateur coaching is the experience that he's had as a coach at the collegiate level, and injuries in youth sports, because he's been experienced in the field, he's experienced many injuries that have come by him.
Well, I'm gonna let him ask his questions, and then I'll allow you voir dire counsel.
Your Honor.
Proceed.
Thank you, Your Honor. How long have you been coaching at the collegiate level?
I've been coaching at the collegiate level for the past 30 years.
How long have you been head coach at the collegiate level?
The past 10 years.
Was there, if any, training you were required to have in order to achieve this occupation?
There was, yes.
In this training, was there, if any, emphasis on sports injuries?
There was.
Was there, if any, emphasis on head injuries?
There was.
Your Honor, at this time, I'd like to offer up Coach Chris Durant as an expert in amateur coaching and injuries in youth sports.
Now, counsel, I'm gonna give you a chance to voir dire this witness, and then if you have any objections, you can tell me your objections then.
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay, proceed.
Mr. Durant, have you? That's the wrong line of questioning. No objections, Your Honor.
No objections. Okay, then I'm gonna allow you to be an expert in amateur coaching and youth sports, and we'll proceed from there.
Thank you, Your Honor. A moment of the court's indulgence. I didn't expect to do this. So, have you reviewed the medical record of Sarah Perez's first concussion?
I have.
Have you formulated an opinion within a reasonable degree of professional certainty based on this record?
Yes. Objection, Your Honor. The witness is not qualified in the medical field. He's qualified as an amateur coach.
Injuries.
His opinion was asked on the medical report.
Restate that question.
Restate it or restate it?
Restate it. Re-say it.
Same thing.
Okay. Have you reviewed the record of Sarah Perez's first concussion?
I have.
That is a medical question. I'm going to sustain the objection. But counsel, I'd ask that you stand when you address the court if you can.
Have you reviewed Sarah Perez's first concussion?
I have.
Have you formulated an opinion within a reasonable degree of professional certainty based on Sarah's first concussion?
Objection, Your Honor. This is building off the question that was.
I'm going to sustain the objection because.
But there's two things.
But I'm going to sustain the objection. What I'm going to ask you to do, counsel, is to either ask him questions that are based on youth coaching experience or